Und jetzt gebe ich das Wort an Bernhard. Maybe you can tell us something about your first record and about the history of ESP.
Guten Abend.
Guten Abend.
Guten Abend.
Freut mich sehr, kennenzulernen. That's all my German.
Sounded very good.
I thought I would practice something impressive. Yes, I became a lawyer in New York City in 1960. I started to practice law in 1960 in New York City. If I speak too rapidly, you must stop me. I hope I'm not speaking too quick. And I wasn't certain what I wanted to do with my career as a lawyer. So I explored various possibilities, and I knew what I didn't want to do, to be a divorce lawyer. I knew that. I knew I didn't want to be involved in business transactions because that's very dull, for me anyway. But I encountered, as it happens, I encountered some black composers who were all performing their own music, and they were totally unknown. They were the successors, they were the next generation after Thelonious Monk, Charles Mingus, Charlie Parker. That whole community were famous. The record companies, of which there were only a handful of large ones, no really small ones, weren't interested because they had never heard of these artists. They wanted to be sure that they weren't making a mistake because they didn't really know what was good and was not good. So they didn't bet on unknowns. They focused only on artists who had long, well-established reputations. So Miles Davis had no real problem, or Charlie Parker, any of these people. But my crowd, they were in their 20s and 30s. They were fully mature. They had their music together, their thoughts together. And they inspired me. I found them to be very deeply philosophical, very, very beautiful people, very attractive people, and spiritual. They weren't into drugs, not at all. They came from all over America to New York. They came from St. Louis, they came from New Orleans, they came from Chicago, they came from many cities. But they understood that New York was the place to be. And so they were there, and they were starving. They were very distressed. Well, I realized as I came to know them, they didn't need a lawyer. They needed someone to document their work on a record label. As it happens, I was the firstborn of 7 children. My mother was the head of the family. She was a Taurus. And I went to her in '63, and I said, Mother, I'm only 34, but I know what I want to do with my life. I want to be of assistance to these artists in starting a record label for them. And she gave me a fortune. My mother had worked hard. They were immigrants to America. They worked 7 days a week.
Where did they come from?
My father came from eastern Poland, near the border of Russia. My mother came from Lithuania, on the border of Poland. They came to America separately the same year, in 1920. They met in the balcony of the theater, and he decided she was right for him. She wasn't interested at all. She had 3 older sisters. She was 16. And she thought to herself, well, she told me, well, he may be interested in me, but maybe I can interest him in my older sisters instead. So she didn't refuse him exactly, but she resisted him for 2 years. And they married. They had no children. 4 years. She said to him, David, his name was David, you may have a divorce. You are entitled to have children. I don't know if I can have children. He said, not so fast, not so fast. And he took her to a doctor. The doctor laughed. He said, you have no problem. You're just not fully mature yet. You'll have plenty of children. But he lied. She only had 7. Yeah. So I was the favorite, of course, because they didn't expect a child. And the firstborn, I think, is often the favorite. So she gave me a fortune. $103,000 in those to start the company over a period of 18 months. In 1963-64, as you know, a dollar was 7 times what it is today, so you realize the value of what she gave me. In 18 months, I made 45 albums. Unheard of. The artists produced their own albums. I was totally ignorant, almost totally ignorant. I never bought records. I didn't listen to records. I love music, but I wasn't focused on being a record collector, forgive me. But I had something. I had, over the years, acquired interest in all the arts, dance, theater, every form of art was interesting to me. So when I heard their music, I treated it as an art form. And regarding it as an art form, it made sense to me. I could hear it. Naive as I was, I could hear their music. Other people wouldn't listen. They had noise. For some reason, I think it was destined to be so, I could relate to what they were doing. I could hear their music. And I recognized quality, value, excitement, beauty, and truth. To me, it was all about that, truth and beauty. Well, the record industry had no interest in what they were doing, of course. I determined to break all the rules. If you signed a contract with a record company in those days, it was a 36 to 44 page contract. The artist shall not, the artist shall not, the artist shall not. I made a 1.5 page contract, simple contract. The record company would take the artist's music, publish it. I'll co-publish the songs with you. The record company would own the master, could do what they wished with it. I said, no, we jointly own the master. I will be your representative to the world for your master. Record companies had producers who were supposed to tell the artist, this you will do, because it's a popular song, I have a friend who wrote it, you must do so. You must